Welcome to Soul Sync.
Welcome to Soul Sync. Guess what? We're here in person.
Isn't that crazy?
I know. And we have such a special guest today, our shaman and our teacher, Mr. Mark DeAndrea.
Hello to all within the distance of our voice. How are you?
We're great, Mark. We literally have been manifesting this since the first episode.
Yeah, it was one of our first ideas. We were like, and what if we can get Mark on the show somehow? And it actually
Oh,
happened.
anything I can do to make your guys' day, no problem.
Well, it did. I literally told Taylor on one of our podcasts, and she was like, "What? You tell me?" And I was like, "Well, you found out live."
It was a surprise.
I'm glad you guys are having such a wonderful visit.
Definitely.
For sure, especially because it was snowing in Connecticut. So, oof, anything to get away from that weather. I know you were saying you were doing the shoveling and whatnot.
Yeah, well, I'm the only one. I was ordered out there by the boss, so I do what I got to do.
I love that.
That's a good man, okay? Mark
Mhm.
literally is the representation of a good man. So take notes.
Take notes,
I-
fellas.
Right? And I cook. So, yeah.
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 Mhm.
Mark, speaking of, would you like to introduce yourself a little bit and maybe tell your story, especially speaking of cooking? I know that's a big part of who you used to be before spirituality.
Yeah, well, for many years I was a chef. I was a cook and then prep cook, and then I was a chef, and I owned parts of restaurants. I was a caterer, and I wouldn't trade that for the world. It was a wonderful experience. Met a lot of people, prepared me for my journey as a shaman. Because in working in kitchens and restaurants, everything changes at the drop of a hat. You could be like, okay, we're all set. We have a full staff, and then I'm sick. I don't feel good. I'm not coming in, and so that's sort of what it is when you're a shaman or a energy healer, a sound healer, a Reiki master. Things come up as you're working, and you have to learn to adjust to
Mhm.
what's presenting itself. Nothing in the spiritual, especially with healing, is ordinary. It's not a word. When
Definitely.
you're in the healing arts, ordinary is not a thing. It's extraordinary.
Mhm.
And that's exactly what you are. So definitely tell our listeners just in case they don't know. Because I know when I first met you, I was like, what's a shaman? I have no idea. So do you mind telling us a little bit about that?
Well, if you look up shaman in the on the internet, it says clear seeing or seeing in the dark. And typically, what a shaman is somebody who's had um, a near death experience for one thing or another, and then is healed themselves, and then is called to help and heal others. Now, it's kind of a catchphrase, and there's a lot of people that represent themselves as shamans, but it takes a lot of work and a lot of training. And I was very fortunate to have trained with over 100 different healing practitioners. Um, I went to places like Omega and Open Center in New York City, and many other trained with shamans in Vermont and in different all over. And so it really is excellent to be able to do that because you can get a lot of information from a lot of different people and then take what best fits you rather
Mhm.
than I meet people and I was working with a shaman. They asked me to work with them, and I said absolutely. And I noticed when they were working with their clients, they repeated the same thing for each client. And I'm like, well, I'm an intuitive healer. So I'm
Mhm.
like, in fact, when I did work on you, you said, well, you didn't do that last time, but you did something different this time. I said, because you didn't need that.
Mhm.
Now
Mhm.
you need it, but you didn't need it then.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. Uh, the title shaman is very loosely used. And I've come close to death's door twice in my life, and that's enough. I'm hope
Yeah.
hopefully hopefully nothing else comes up in that area.
Oh
Mhm.
yeah, I hope so too. I don't know what I'd do without you. Say it.
You're not allowed to
Well,
leave us.
you guys are pretty strong together. I don't know. I remember there was that kids thing where they'd have their energy rings. That's you two.
Aw, I love that.
Yeah, you support each other, and your energies are very complementary.
Aw.
I definitely feel that. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, that like makes my heart so warm. I feel
Mhm.
like we always kind of knew, and it's so funny because I remember when Taylor and I had our first slumber party, and I had told you, and I had come to you with a lot of brokenness, just getting out of a relationship. I was had the entity in my house that I was kind of like moving through that fear after you had cleared me. I just lost my best friend at the time. Like I was telling Taylor this morning, it felt like when I first met you, Mark, I went through a death myself, if you think about it. But then when you had told me that Taylor and I were soul sisters for that slumber party, it was kind of just that validation of like, okay, like I'm gonna have more good girls come in, and it gave me so much hope. So did you like always see our friendship being like this from the start?
So here's the thing: we meet people, even if it's for minutes.
Mhm.
They're destined. They had decided there were contracts made for people to come into other people's lives, and you guys had that. But we meet people. Sometimes people that we meet and then we're no longer friends with. They were teachers. I've had some of that and also going through ascension is what you were going through. Both of you, we lose people. We lose friends. We lose uh, lovers and boyfriends and girlfriends, and some people lose wives and husbands. But it's because your vibration is rising and you're ascending,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and the people around us are not. Now, I have some old friends that from high school, but we share many old memories. But if I was to meet somebody and they're not of a high vibration, I can't really relate, or they can't relate to me. And that's a, I say sometimes to people, have a mixed marriage, and they look at me. I said, well, you're 1,000 and your husband's 350, so
Mhm.
that isn't really so good. It makes it very difficult on a relationship when one is very high vibrational and the other is not within a couple of hundred of the other person's vibration. So if somebody's, like I said, 350 and someone's 1,000, that is going to be a tough relationship.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like the vibration of who they are. And like, do you even think that our vibration changes our perspectives and our feelings about the world?
Well, you can answer that question. You know that. Look at you. You're bouncing around all the time, so happy.
It's
I
true.
mean,
Yeah,
you
I
know,
know.
um, Taylor and I tend to lean a little bit towards more being empaths, so we're feeling all of the energy of the world,
Mhm.
and like it can bum us out. But we
Totally.
have to snap out of it and like, well, we can't.
Yeah.
Not good for people like us to watch TV. And now you, on
Mhm.
the other hand, are very bouncy, and I always call you a battery. It's a simplistic term for what you actually are. You came to the planet to raise vibrations. And when you're in, even with a group or in other people's company and your clients and stuff, you're actually raising their vibration.
Aw, I
Mhm.
know. Would you mind kind of like describing? So I guess maybe it would be a good time for me to talk about how we met Mark. I think that would kind of
Mhm.
like sum up a lot of like, well, oh my God, he's such a big impact on both of your ladies' lives, but like, how the fuck did you guys even meet? So maybe we could go into that.
When the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Yeah.
Is
Mm.
that, I think, was that the Buddha that might have said that? I don't want to misquote the Buddha. You get in trouble for that. Um,
You wanna piss off the
uh,
Buddha.
yeah, he doesn't get upset over it. He's
Yeah.
like you, Taylor. He's like, cool, it's all right, no problem. We meet people for reasons, and that's how we met through somebody else. That person was just a catalyst, Sammy, for
Mhm.
you to me. And
Mhm.
you needed, at that time, you needed somebody outside your circle
Yeah.
to talk to. And what we did is practiced nonviolent communication or compassionate communication, which you weren't, no one was listening to you.
Mhm.
And you're very, Sammy and Taylor, you're both very good at that. When someone talks to you, you listen to them 100%. And that's very healing to the person that's talking. Very important, most important.
Well, I could definitely relate because I feel like you doing that saved my life, you know? So to give y'all a little update, a little summary. So I met Mark when I was 19. So it's been 5 years, which is so crazy to me. I'm always like, oh wow, it's been so long since I awoke. But at this time, I was struggling with so many different things. I remember just like being so depressed. I would not want to wake up out of bed. I just like didn't feel like I had anything worth living for, you know? And not in that sense of like, I don't want to live. I just didn't feel like I had a purpose. Like I didn't know what my place was in this world. And I surrounded myself with people who were constantly putting me down. And it wasn't until you actually told me, like, hey, Sammy, this is what's going on. They're putting you down. You're not really sharing your voice here, that I even realized, like, wait, this isn't a good thing. Cause it, like you said, it was all that I had ever known. And in my house, I was experiencing, I would say for like a year and a half before I met you, I was experiencing really abnormal things happening to me. So I would have nightmares almost every single night of what I could just describe as like demons, like very bad black figures, and they would take over my family members' bodies. Like I remember one that I told you specifically was I looked out the window and my grandma, I was so close to her, she had passed away. And she had these red demon eyes, and I would have dreams like that all the time. My anxiety had never been worse. There were lights flickering. I had one of those lights where you can touch it. It would just go off at the drop of the bat. I would even unplug it and it would still be doing it until like it kind of stopped, you know? And I would hear like doors opening and closing in my downstairs basement, and I had told my parents and they didn't believe me at the time. So I felt fucking crazy. And I thought that I was the problem. And it wasn't until one of my friends came over and we were in the basement and she was like, "Hey Sammy, is there something happening down here? I feel like a really bad energy." And I had turned and I was like, "Wait, you feel that? Like you believe me?" And I had never told her anything that was going on. She had no idea. And we were in the garage. I turned the garage light off and I remember cuz I forgot. So I had to go back, turn it off, and we ended up going upstairs. We started at a walk, and then I like am literally getting chills telling the story because we were sprinting up there by the end of like just the 12-foot stairs. We're fucking sprinting, okay? And we got to my room and I was hysterically sobbing because for the first time in my whole life, someone had believed me. I had been dealing with this for over a year. And she was like, "Okay, let's go to my house and I know exactly who to call. I'm gonna call Mark." And by the time we were walking outside, that garage light was back on. And it was the scariest thing I have ever gone through. You know, I was so traumatized after that. I didn't sleep probably for like 6 months. And it took you doing so much healing on me. But you literally saved my life. I always say that. And I know that one thing you had said
Well,
was
you did the work. You did the work. But
like,
so I've told you this. You're a little bit of a medium,
hmm.
and you know what a medium is, right? It's somebody that talks to beings on the other side. And so I went to a reading with a quite a famous medium at somebody's house, and they live near the graveyard. And this medium is like, oh, a couple of people just walking through. So I think some of that was going on, and plus you were becoming enlightened.
Hmm.
So this is what's going on. So many people now are waking up and they don't know what's happening to them. And
Hmm.
because I read energy, I can tell who's who and what's what and most things about people. When I used to go to New York City, I'd see the panhandlers sitting on the side and I'd talk to them and have a conversation. And they're like, you know. Like what it
Oh my god.
was they were going through ascension and becoming enlightened, but what happened to you was happening to them. So they thought they were being treated for schizophrenia and other things. And our ascension and our becoming enlightened is a different experience for each and every person, right? So mine was like first it was like, wow, do I feel great? And sitting on the couch meditating. And then as I realized I was more of an empath, I started to become sad at watching the news, what people are
Yeah.
doing to each other, and I realized I have to turn that off. Well, the first thing was I would meet people and know how many people, how would Taylor put this? How many uh, how many bodies they have and when they were going to pass away. So
Mhm.
you go to shake somebody's hand and meet him, and you're like, oh damn, they only have 12 years, and wow, 72. So
I'm dead. Oh my gosh.
yeah, I try to get my Taylor speak right. Um, so that was like weird. That was super weird, and I was like, I can't have this. I simply can't. It's just very disconcerting. I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little personal.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, you meet somebody and that you thought was really a player, a friend of mine, and I'm like, two? All that talking you did? That's all it is?
Oh my god. That's hilarious.
Yeah. So now, after that, that was many years ago, but I learned to control it, and now I would have to ask that question, but I don't do that for people. I don't know. When am I gonna? No, no, can't do that.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I had a very good spiritual friend, and we were traveling to a retreat together, and I said to him, I have this ability, and he said, that's ridiculous. Nobody could do that. So I blurted the number out, and he was like an hour counting because he's like was 64 or 5 at the time. So he took him a while, and he goes, yeah, you were right. I apologize.
Oh my god. That's
Okay.
crazy.
He had to count because it was a rather high number,
I
and
mean, I can totally relate because when I had first met you, I had already kind of trusted you because at this point we had talked over the phone about what was happening in my house and I was just like, well, the fact that you believe me was a step up in the right direction.
Yeah.
So when I had first met you, I already was pretty open, but the things that you knew, just like very small details that I had just not told people, feelings that I felt about myself and even the characteristic traits that you were telling me I had, I was like, how does this person know? Like, I had never met you. You had never even seen a picture of me. Yeah, I felt more understood by you in our first conversation than I feel like I ever had in my whole life, you know?
that's the gazing. Like recently, I sent Taylor something. It's gazing into the energy of a person. So there's psychic people. I don't practice mediumship or psychic, but I, in the course of a healing, some of that comes up for people. Somebody
Mhm.
comes in. Um, but where my uh, abilities are is gauging what's going on with a person's chakras,
Mhm.
their level of vibration, what negative attachments. Attachments are entities that feed off of our negative energies, and it's very common. And also, I hate to say it, but curses are common because there's people that are jealous
Mhm.
of, and they send particularly, which nobody talks about, is people that are on social media a lot yet, because energy travels. For
Mhm.
instance, I was at a 16-day immersion once, and I would sit at a table that nobody else was sitting at, and then I would concentrate on a person, and they would walk over and sit at my table. So energy travels, really, energy travels. So has this ever happened to either one of you guys? You're thinking of someone and then the phone rings and they're on
Yeah.
the phone.
Yeah. All the time.
Mhm.
Okay. I call that a psychic phone call. Or you want to talk to somebody and you think about them and then they call you, or vice
Mhm.
versa, you call them.
Mhm.
That's your psychic abilities. we all have gifts, regardless of who you are. We all have them. And the reason you don't have too much trouble anymore, Sammy, with the dark entities coming around is because you're very high vibration and exude a lot of positive energy, and you help raise people's vibrations. I mean, both of you help raise millions of people's vibrations by your high vibrations, and your energy goes out 500 feet. Your auric field, it varies depending on.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Last time you told me it was only 300, so I'm like, wow.
Yeah. Well, things are, like I say, things are shifting.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, we're vacillating between dimensions. Our vibrations are, the Schumann resonance. You guys know what that is, right?
Mhm.
That's the resonance of the planet Earth, or Gaia, and that is going up and down. We have solar flares. There's supposed to be a big one coming in this weekend,
I was
Woo!
and
just telling you about them.
Yes,
Mhm.
Taylor was just telling me about that last night.
I was
yeah,
trying to
she's an
explain.
empath, so she feels a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, like so
Not,
tired, drained lately.
yeah. Not that you aren't, Sammy. It's just yours is a little different. But Taylor's like 100% empath. So when
Mhm.
Taylor gets into a relationship with somebody, she's feeling all that they feel,
Yes.
and that's hard to. I have to, because I work with clients. I have to learn to shut that off. I remember doing a healing on a person, and I was Reiki, and I stopped and said, "No, you shouldn't let people hit you." And the person got up and left
Oh.
because they didn't want to share that. But
Mhm.
that's what I was getting, and the energy I was getting.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, it's tough sometimes when we're working, and both of you are healers, so you know what I'm talking about.
Mhm.
And also now you both do with your podcast, you heal through communication. That's what you're doing when you talk to people and they listen to you. You're healing through communication. Your exuberance, your high vibrations filter to people and help them. That's why you're so successful with what you do, Sammy, because it's just beyond the advice. It's what you carry with that, the resonance of your voice, your vibration. And of course, when Taylor becomes a masseuse therapist, is that the right term? Correct.
Yes, massage therapist.
Don't forget the
Yes.
Reiki, though.
Well, I was just about to touch on that. Thank you, Sammy.
You're welcome. I gotta hype her up, you know?
Yeah. So exactly what I was going to get to is that not only will the person be getting a massage, but they'll be getting the benefit of her high vibration and positive energy, and that's just priceless.
Oh my God, I love that so much.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, that's
Sam
the
is.
truth. I've told you this before. Yeah,
Mhm.
they're going to be very. I have a friend who's a chiropractor, and when the person's getting chiropracted, they're like, "Wow, I feel so good." They have no idea why,
Yeah.
but,
Mhm.
but they, they experience the positivity of it.
I love that. Oh my God. Definitely Sammy's is definitely with her voice, like her affirmations. She was on like 2 calls yesterday, and I was just sitting in the room, like listening. And I swear I felt so good after the calls, and she wasn't even talking to me, but I was just like in, her immediate energy field. And I was like, oh my God, Sammy, that was great. I was like, I want to buy a
There was
program.
there was just a kitty that walked by.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gumi was actually Tom just opened up the door for him because he was clawing, meowing at the door. I guess he wanted to be with our energy too.
Yeah, I was like, I
Well,
want
cats are very special. They
to.
protect us. That's why many witches have them, because they tell if there's any kind of energy that's off in a room, like
Mhm.
right away. And even when I had my little dog, if something was there, he start growling and carrying on. I'm like much faster than me. It takes me about 3 minutes to. He was instantaneous.
Oh,
Dolan. We love him.
yeah.
He's with us right now.
They're all little healers. I mean,
Mm.
animals come to us when we most need them. And Dolan came to me right before I started my chemotherapy and my radiation, and that dog never left my side. Of course, he loved Joanne much more than he loved me, my wife, but he was there, sent to me when I most needed him.
Mm.
And he got me up and going and walking, and he wasn't having me sleeping all day. He was bopping me and telling me to get up and feed him and all that stuff. So it was very, very helpful.
Mhm.
And now Nala is with you to help you on your journey.
Aw. I remember that. I remember when I first got her because I was devastated, as you know, when Callie passed away. Like it was probably for like 3 weeks straight. I just cried anytime you said her name or I saw a dog, which was very embarrassing at work because it happened multiple times working at an outdoor restaurant. But I would see a dog and I would immediately start crying, And I remember when Nala was a puppy, there was one time in particular where she was going nuts. It was like 11, 12 o'clock at night, and there were all these like glistening, like, I don't even know how, is it called like plasma or what's the word? But like it was all these
Pra-
like,
Prana, prana
yes,
energy is one of
yes.
the things that it is. Yeah, when we meditate, I see that when I meditate or when I drum, the
Mhm.
shaman drum, I'll kind of have my eyes closed and I'll open them and there's sparkles of light all around. That's energy.
Oh my
Yes,
God.
and that happened like within the first week that I had adopted Nala. And I remember that you said that that was Callie kind of giving her blessing of like, I know it was
Yeah,
super hard that I left you, but I give you permission to keep going forward?
they
So,
send us our pets will send us because they have sort of a hive soul, and they'll send us another dog. Yeah,
mm,
that's if we're meant to have one.
I didn't know that. That's so sweet.
Yeah, totally right.
Mm.
So everyone sent to us really has like a purpose and a meaning. Like,
Right. Even people that are even a short time in our life are meant to, I had an incident where I was buying tires and I ended up talking like an hour to the guy because he's having a spiritual awakening. And, people are all they know is if they were raised in a religion, that's what they know. So, in my
Mm.
opinion, religion is good and it gets you to a certain point, but then you have to have a relationship with the creator to take it the rest of the way. And then, of course, angels are paramount. People don't realize how important angels are. That's why I pushed that book, Angels in My Hair. Oh,
What did you say?
speaking of it, speaking of angels, we have a furry angel.
no, it's
Nala
like you're
knew.
talking about.
Mark, both of them are going crazy. Are there like angels everywhere or something? Boomy's
There's a
meowing. This is Nala over here.
Yeah. See that Taylor can help it. All boys love her. They're dog boys, or they just can't. She can't help that.
And girls. Now it's a girl.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. I count on Taylor to keep me current. You know,
In the
I
current.
wouldn't. I wouldn't say it like that. Well, I was saying something, and I go, "What do you?" No, I don't think I'd phrase it quite like that, Mark.
I'll keep you with the times, Mark. I'll
Yeah,
keep
she does. She does. She
Mhm.
teaches me all the different things. When Sammy says things, I have to check in and go, "What does that mean?" It means the same as that. It's okay.
Yeah, I'm a Sammy
Yes.
translator. You can hire me per hour.
Oh my goodness. Especially when I'm talking to the ladies, I'm like, hey, you want to grow that cake? And he goes, well, what's a cake?
That's just the best. But we got peach, cake.
The different
Yeah.
types of cake.
Yeah. Oh, there's a ton of different types of cake.
Yeah. Oh, look at the baby
Do
dog.
you see this?
Yeah, he has a special place for Taylor.
Yeah.
And
Well, it's so
that's
funny because Taylor
she's a
came with
girl.
me to
She's a
get her.
girly dog. Sorry. Yeah, she's a girly dog. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, Taylor came with me to get Nala. Like she was there the first day I adopted her. She drove with me so that I could hold Nala on the way home. So they've always had such a good bond. It doesn't matter like how long they haven't seen each other. Nala knows. At the airport yesterday, she was going nuts, Mark. Like literally like
But
loud
that's how I feel when I see Tay too.
Oh, go on, people. What
Sure.
else?
He must have heard you at the end of our first episode when you were like, all the compliments.
Yeah.
Bring them here.
Bring on the compliment.
Well, there's nothing, wrong with that. I even saw Dua Lipa do that. She goes, "Say more about me."
Yeah.
I mean, it is a thing that adoration. We all like to be liked.
Well, I even think that affirmation of like more please universe, that's something that I always say after I get a new client. Like yesterday, I got this amazing new girl, Nicole, and I resonated with her story so much. And then I got off the phone with her and I was like, more please, universe, more please, because I'm just
You
at this.
just have to win the lottery, Sammy. Win the lottery. So
Yeah.
I can,
No, but I want to work with like high vibe women, and I want more girls like Nicole, like my other Nicole that you actually know that you've met from the crystal store. So I actually am Sammy, your spiritual fitness coach, and that's my new name. And I'm really looking to work with like high vibrational female. So that's been a really big change that we've been shifting, especially when it comes to Lotus Lifts, because those are the girls that just want it. And I feel like those are the girls that get the most amazing results. And you know what? That's always been what's most important to me. Like when I first came to you, I just felt like I had no purpose, no passion. And I was like, I just want to help people. And I met you and I was like, I left meeting you being like, oh my God, I want to be a healer too. I literally want to do what Mark
well,
did.
you are.
Like-
You are one.
Same. Me too.
Both of you are healers in your own way. Sammy, you currently are healing through communication, and when Taylor gets to her massage therapy, she will be healing people with hands-on healing. So there's all different types of healing out there.
I love that. So why is healing important nowadays in the world? Because I know there's so much happening right now, and we're going into like a transitional type period. So
Mhm.
why is it super important to kind of
Well, what I see going on is a division among healers and people that spiritual people, and we need to be more together,
Mhm.
like more entwined, more supportive, and I think that's totally important right now, because we have to help others advance their vibration and become enlightened.
Mhm.
So that will help raise the vibration of the planet, because right now, this is one of the most important times in the history of the planet. And if you're here on the planet for the changes that are going to come about, um, actually, we've all decided, those of us that are here, to be here. Hopefully, we can all add something to it and help Gaia move into the new Earth, which
Mhm.
is going to be a much lovelier place than we're currently in. This is a lot of the people are still low density, and a lot of the concepts are low density. Like war shouldn't is just you think we would learn not as humans not to participate in war, but it seems it still comes up.
Yeah.
And I always wondered. My father fought in World War II in the U.S. Navy, and then in the 70s he bought a Honda. So he was shooting guns at Japanese, and now he's so after a while the wars just become like, yeah, really. I was like, I was a little kid. I'm like what? How
Yeah.
does that work? Okay. Um, and then the United States did some wonderful things that other countries didn't. They after they decimated countries, they helped rebuild them, even
Mm.
though which is a good thing. Everybody talks down the United States how terrible they are, but they've done some good things. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Mhm.
But right now, the ascension of the planet and the changes that are coming about,
Mhm.
which will eventually end very positively. The word apocalypse translates into an unveiling. So that's why you're seeing all being unveiled, corruption in certain areas of the government and with certain people and things like that. So it's all coming to one fruition. It's coming to fruition where, things are going to change for the better. And we're starting to see that. We're starting
Yeah.
to see people waking up and seeing what is wrong with the way things are.
Mm-hmm.
I always say if we loved each other like we love our pets, the world would be a lovely place. And
Yes.
Nala's back.
We heard you.
They can't even help it. I had to step out a little bit to like open up the door because they have the zoomies right now. They must be feeding off our good energy.
Well, yes, the energy builds and builds and builds. Yeah. So
Mhm.
we're all fortunate, not to get too deep into it, but we have had experiences on other planets, all of us. We've had many lives.
Mhm.
And the people that are listening have had many lives. So
Mhm.
we could be developing on other planets in our spiritual body, but we chose to come into this heavy density where we can learn the most and we can work out the most karma.
Mhm.
And we come to this planet also to learn how to manipulate energy. And both of you have some training in that.
Yeah.
So, and also through communication, healing is what Sammy's doing with her clients and and you guys are doing with your podcast.
Mhm. I love that. I know the world right now is so for the people that don't really know too much about like waking up, but they're starting to, maybe like what type of advice would you give them? They're waking up to like the truths of the world and they're
Well,
kind of
know that you 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 decided to be here. Know that, and there are teachers. I mean, Sammy is a teacher. You're a teacher. They can call on, and I am. They can call on people like us to help guide them. So I say this so many times to Sammy: you are your own guru,
Mhm.
because there are people out there that will charge you absurd amounts of money to teach you, and that I understand people have to make money. I like to make money at what I do. I spent, for those over 100 trainings, over $30,000.
Mhm.
So we have to be paid, but at the same time, it's a labor of love for us. I think you all agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do belong to a group called Each One Teach One, and the premise of that is we get together up in the Catskills. It's a grassroots group, which means there's not a lot of huge production. And what comes up during we used to have a venerable teacher named Oris Bedridge, and he moved on and he transitioned, but he left us with a group of teachings and philosophies and a way. He was a way shower, and we do this every year or a couple of times a year, and then the people learn what we teach about ascending and being on the planet at this time, and then take that out and they can talk to others.
Mhm.
You know, um, I bump into people all the time. I was fueling my boat a summer ago or two ago, and I ended up talking to somebody for like 2.5 hours. The object was to get gas and go out in the boat, but then you
Mhm.
meet you meet somebody that needs a conversation. Uh, as the Dalai Lama says, we're here to help. If you can't help, don't hurt,
Yes.
which is my favorite because it doesn't have any big philosophy. It's
Mhm.
just simple, and we try to help as many people as possible. And both of you are very aware because you're intuitive and know how much you can tell somebody. Like even when I worked with Sammy, a little bit at a time.
Mhm.
And she'd go, "That's not, you're not teaching me enough. I want to know more." So I let loose, and she's like, "I think, okay, like that's too much. Let's dial it back. Let's dial it back a little bit."
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to know Sammy. She'd show up and go, as being an intuitive, I know when someone's hungry. So she showed up a couple of times, and not only that, but you'd hear her stomach. Did you eat? No. Would you like some?
I love
Would
it.
you like some grapes? No. Would you like orange? No. Oh, an apple? How about a cheeseburger? Yep. So I'd sit there. He'd sit at the counter. I'd teach, and I'd make a cheeseburger.
I love that.
And
Oh, yeah.
she was very happy. That was back many years ago, so I don't know what if the cheeseburgers are still in the docket now?
Of course, I teach the girls that they could eat whatever they want while still hitting their goals. But I will be honest, now I will say yes to the grapes and the orange. I actually had one this morning with Taylor. You'd be so proud of me.
The variety.
I know.
Yeah, and then you get time to peel it, so it really works out.
He actually cooked us eggs and cheese. He really chefs it up for us. So very grateful.
Well, that's wonderful. He's a good man.
But I feel like that brings me into a question I really wanted to ask you of knowing me when I first was waking up and I first met you to where I am now. Like, how have you seen spirituality like change my life, but also change me for the better? Like, what areas do you feel like I've grown in and just become a better person because of everything you taught me?
Well, it was again, you did the work. It wasn't so much me teaching you, but it was like a rocket ship. Like you were, trying to get off the ground, and once you found yourself and found your niche or your niche, people say, of what you wanted to do, that that was it. You just, took off. You also left behind a lot of negative people and negative philosophies, and moved out. And there's a quote in the Bible which I can't really actually remember the word for word, but it's where Jesus was in his own town, and he was quite the healer, but the people in the town didn't take him seriously. He had to move elsewhere to be taken seriously, and I think that's a lot of that happened with you when you moved out of your house and into an apartment, and you started to become your own person, which is normal. It's not that yours was particularly different than anybody else's, but it's just that because we all have challenges, and family is, as we know, is a big challenge, you know. Um, but once you got out on your own and you had support, Tom's very supportive, Taylor's very supportive, so you started to, and I'm supportive of you, so you started to get a good support group behind you. Your confidence level really soared, and that's what occurred for you. In your own healing, you were able to help others because you became a fitness guru, and you were able to impart that love of fitness to others and help, and the added spiritual skills that you have really help because you could talk with your clients on a level that other people can't, because you have that intuition and that spiritual bond.
Aw, that means so much to me, Mark. Thank you. And I feel like it really just goes to show, and you always taught me this. You were like, one, you're your own guru, so you have the control of your own life to make your own decisions and who you want to surround yourself with. And two, that you get to choose your own family. Like I always said that. I always say that to Tom. I'm like, we have our little family, and even with Taylor, like the moment you told me that she was my soul sister, I was like, I know, like she's a part of the fam, and even you, like you guys, I know are people that will be in my life forever and ever. So I'm so grateful, and I feel like that was a really big lesson I had
If I had a little flag, I'd wave it. It's so good.
I love that. So
Yeah, no, you guys are doing great. You guys are both doing great. Proud of you.
thank you.
Oh my God. Heart's melting.
So speaking of soul sisters, and there's like a couple different terms people aren't really clear on, or they don't really know, what it is or how to even find yours, or if you know that someone is that. So we have soul sisters or soul bonds. We have twin flames. I know there's a couple. Yeah, soulmates. So what is like kind of the difference between some of these?
Okay, so twin flame is very rare, and if you have a twin flame, you'll know it because the word tumultuous comes to mind, which means it's really painful, and it's very difficult experience because a twin flame is a soul cut in half and two sides of a soul, and they mirror each other. Oftentimes, what happens though is one, there's an age discrepancy. Could be 20 years, 10 years, 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
Your soul, your twin flame could be another woman. It could be another man. Sometimes it's romantic, but many times, you find a soulmate. I mean, sorry, a twin flame, and they're married. You're married, and so that is very difficult. So what it is they're sent here to the planet to help raise the vibration. There's usually a teacher and someone learning from that person. And by those two working out things in their life, they create a very positive vibration and help raise the energy of the planet. A soulmate could be somebody you had a prior relate. So we've had many lives. Like Taylor and I have had lives together, but Sammy and I have not. This is our first time. So soulmates are people that we've had experiences with in other lives, and sometimes it could be a family person. Sometimes they're romantic. Sometimes they're like you guys, just more like connecting immediately. Vibration has a lot to do with it because you're both high vibrational. You connect, and so that really helps. That's why sometimes you meet somebody and it's just like something clicks, and that's typically that could be a soul relationship. Yeah, and then we get into karmic relationships, which is a whole other subject. That would be a whole other that would be a whole other podcast because people come into our lives. Then we make soul contracts to meet and work with people. That's why when people take their own life, the only thing, it's not terrible like religions say, sin and all that. It's just you have all these soul contracts that you're severing with people that you've made. When when our soul is placed into our body and we come into the planet, we've made a lot of arrangements before. The other side, as I call it, there's all kinds of committees and offices of things, and it's really as above, so below. It's really kind of what goes on here goes on there, and then we have our angels, and that's one thing that people don't do is use their angels enough.
Yeah.
I just messaged him about that the other day. I was like, Mark, what would my life look like if I talked to them every single day and like asked for their assistance with a lot of things that I do?
Yeah, they want to help you. God creates them to.
But you need to ask, correct? Like you need to be specific, and
that's why that book, Angels in Your Hair by Lorna Byrne, is so important to read. It's a nice story, but also she goes into, and all her books go into how to use angels or how to call in angels, they're there to help us. The religions don't teach, so angels are not religious. The creator creates them messengers and helpers, and both of you, I've assigned angels to you with your with you working with me to help you with certain situations, and so they're there for us. And I remember some times in my life where they were there for me and I didn't even know it, or I knew it but I didn't really comprehend it. And that's one thing that we don't do enough is ask angels for help. And if you get that book and you read it, it tells you how to go about it.
Definitely get it. We'll put it in the show notes for you ladies, because and gentlemen, sorry, y'all know have it. But that book literally changed my life. And I still think about it all the time. That's why I was in a bath and I was just thinking about reflecting how I've been doing. And I'm always so good about my meditations, my affirmations, and saging and Palo Santo, but I was like, I don't feel like I utilize my angels enough. And it's really funny that you bring that up because I think that has a lot to do with the intention. And sometimes when it comes to everyday life, you can be just so hyper focused on either the past or hyper focused on the future, and you forget about the present. Like you forget that you have assistance, and that if you just take a step, take a moment, you can ask for help, you know? And I think that's where I said, like, shit, I struggle with that a little bit. And it's something I really want to bring in more because I feel like the angels are so powerful. And I know that there's been multiple situations where you've assigned them for me, whether it's for protection or it's for healing, and I'll feel an immediate difference.
Well, you would, because you're an intuitive. You would feel that.
Yeah. I showed everyone in my family that book. I was like, you have to read this book. It just changes your perspective on things too, like that there's so much going on behind the scenes that people don't realize. And
Well, and that one, the woman, Lorna, is I can't get into the details of it, but I went to see her and I was a little uncomfortable with the vibrations, so I brought in angels, and she saw them, and it was like, no wonder they didn't want me to. Spirit didn't want me to be there because she's like, there's 3,000 angels up there with red. I don't know where they came from. This has never happened before, and I'm like, stop, go away.
oh my god.
He's like, "Brr."
Yes.
Or mission.
Yeah, we all have gifts too, and as we progress with this changing of the planet for the better, people will start to experience their gifts more.
Wow.
That's going to be great.
Yeah, it's really exciting. Like, thank God there's a light at the end of this tunnel because there's just so much going on in the world that's really hard to.
As as Sam, as Sammy would say, it's a shit show. So
Yes. It is a shit show right now.
right.
But
So yeah, we went from no wars to wars and rumors of wars, and if you follow some of the biblical projections, these times have been projected by all sorts of religious groups, and that we're currently in, and some of them are like the end of the. It's not the end of the world. It is an unveiling of everything that is wrong, and those that not to get too deep into it, there are a group or groups of people that run, as my one of my favorite musical icons, John Lennon said, I feel like there's maniacs running the world for maniacal reasons, and he 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 was a very open guy, and he saw a UFO over Manhattan and talked about it. He was, I'm not comparing myself to him as an icon. What I'm saying is, I also was unconcerned and am unconcerned what people think of me.
Mhm.
When you get to that place in your life, it's like great,
Yeah.
you know.
it's so powerful.
Somebody's it is, yes. Sammy's doing good with that, and it's so is Taylor. You care much less than when I met you both. It's sort of not like I don't care. It's I'm unconcerned. Oh,
Yeah.
so you think that of me. Oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's where you are, and this is where I am. I
Mhm.
had a great teacher. Her name was Samyama, and she said everybody is like a glass of water. They rise to their own level. So those of us with higher vibrations should never look down on those that are on their way up. We're all equal. We're all equal. I've seen remarkable. Uh, I was working with a woman, and I did some healing on her. She was like 400, 600, and we started working together. I gave her the Ho'oponopono, which is Hawaiian shamanic prayer. And she herself, by doing this, raised her vibration to like 700, 800, 900,
Wow.
1,000. It was amazing because it was always there for her. She just didn't know how to reach out and grasp it.
Mhm. Wow. So there are a lot of people that are looking for shamans right now or looking for some guidance and stuff like that. And I know even I've just seen people advertising and stuff like that, and maybe they're not the real deal. How do you think they can determine, who's kind of like a scam almost, or who is like the real deal?
Well, mm, there's a term called discernment,
Mm-hmm.
and like Sammy has very good discernment because even a few years ago, there's this person, and I want to study with them, but I'm not feeling that great about it, and
Mm.
like I don't want to waste my beep beep money on working with them. Is
Funny.
that good taste that I beeped it
Yes.
out?
Do it.
Uh, and so I said, Sammy, she would call me and I would test it for her. I
Mm-hmm.
did things for her I didn't usually do for other clients. And I said, no, you're right. This person, their vibration is lower than your vibration. And so I don't know if that would be a good fit for you. Yeah. Unfortunately, Taylor, you and I have talked about this. There's a lot of charlatans and frauds out there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, there's people that are gifted but want to charge. I mean, I take curses off of people, and a woman came to me. I went to another healer, and they wanted $30,000. So I was very careful. I mean, I was like, okay, that seems like a lot of money. Um, I could do it for $500, and I maybe that's what they needed
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
to get paid to be able to energetically do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there has to be an exchange. Nobody does. I mean, I do a certain amount of like free work for people in need. Um, but there has to be an exchange, an energetic exchange, and sometimes it's great. It's a green exchange, which is money.
Cha-ching.
Other times, I had somebody come and wanted to do healing work with me, and they said I have no money. I said, "Do you weed?" Do you mean I smoke weed? I said, no. Do you do you weed? Like I have to weed for my wife and I hate it. She goes, okay, I'll weed. So she weeded and I healed and there was a wonderful exchange.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
So, there's all different kinds of, I do healing exchanges with other healers. I do, so there's other ways. Now, how to tell, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
For my clients, they'll send me a picture and I'll go,
Yeah.
you know, I don't ever say anything bad. I just go, so they're 500 and you're 1,000. And I don't know, like Sammy's had some people she's worked with that her vibration has been above theirs. And I said, I don't know if that's going to work out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what's really important is following your intuition with that. Because when it came to the people that Mark is talking about, I already had a really fishy feeling. I was like, they're seeming a little too salesy. I'm telling them what I'm looking for, and they're giving me the opposite approach. Like, there were a lot of little signs and red flags that I was looking at and being aware of.
Yeah.
Like, that was one thing that you had taught me, especially.
That's your
Yeah.
discernment.
Mm.
Like one time used the term sketchy and I had to go to Tay for clarity on that one.
I love that one. That's a good one. Sketchy.
Yeah, Sammy's like, they're a bit sketchy. I'm like, I mean, I was thinking of those shoes, Skechers, but then Taylor
Well, yeah, like
correct.
feel the energy. Like it was just like when they were talking confident in what they were saying. So it's like you want to heal me. Like you're telling me I have the problem, but I don't even know if I can trust you to help me with that, you know? So I would definitely say listen to your intuition because your gut feeling, it's not gonna lie to you, you know? And obviously I'm so grateful I had Mark where I can go and say, hey, I'm having these feelings, but it's not even just with shamans. Like it's about the people that you surround yourself with every single day. You know, like if you have a friend and you have an feeling about them, maybe that's not someone that you should be spending a lot of time with. You know.
They say trust your gut
Mhm.
feeling because usually the first time, and then another new term that Taylor taught me was the ick. So I should put a little card together. So yeah, so if you're in a relationship and you get the ick, you that's something that is deep down in your gut, and you should take notice of that.
Oh, okay. So it's like an inner feeling. So it's just like,
Yeah.
okay. I thought I was crazy for getting the ick because I was like, oh my God, I'm so mean. I'm so shallow.
That's well, that's why the child. Well, no, I mean relationships, and then if you're going to stay in them long term, it's very important to know
Mhm.
Yeah.
because you know I personally think people phase in and out of our lives sometimes, and that's okay. Um, yeah, it's intuition. Developing one's intuition is not easy, but you know, if you don't feel comfortable about something initially, I've always known that, and uh, when I first realized that I had gifts, I was much like Sammy, where I would go to. I remember going to look at an apartment, and I opened a drawer in a dresser and took out a recipe book, and I brought it to the landlord, and I said, "There's a lady with a B name who wants you to have this book." And he said, "Boughton?" I said, "Yep." And he said, "Yeah, nobody else wanted to rent that apartment because they were ill at ease when they went inside, but you seem to be, I guess, um, no, the old lady said it's okay, and here she wants you to have this book." So that was one of my first experiences. Yeah.
How old were you?
Yeah. Oh, 30.
Wow, I don't think you've told me that story.
No, well, well, see those stories, if you tell people that, I have a brother who, if I told that story in front of him, he'd grab the picture of the Pope and a crucifix and run around screaming the devil. So you have to be careful who you tell these stories to. You
Yeah.
know,
Hmm.
I mean, I've got quite a few interesting stories of things flying out of cabinets and stuff in places where I lived. They were trying to get my attention, like the ones that were around you or in your house were trying to get your attention. Once you realize that they can't harm us, there's nothing to be afraid of. We actually have dominion over those kind of negative entities and demonic entities. And once people realize that, they um and they learn how to, you know, dispatch them. I
Hmm.
like to use that term. That's a good one, dispatch. Dispatch the negative entities and the demonic things, that life's much more comfortable.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, and I feel like just saging the first time I did that made such a difference, even though I didn't know you had to open up the windows. So take notes, open up your windows so that the energy has somewhere to go. But just those little methods of saging and using Palo Santo, or even the clearing shower when you come home, it makes such a difference. And you think, like,
That's the shower thing is great for everybody. You
"Mhm."
should try to get your clients to do that because it totally works.
It does. I
Mhm.
actually had one of my clients, she did my 6-week challenge and she just signed up to do VIP for the next 6 months with me. And I had introduced the shower method to her because she was coming home. She works at a bakery and she was coming home feeling super exhausted. I was like, well, you're talking to people all day, Queen. You got to refresh your energy. So I actually told her about the shower method and she messaged me. I was like, oh my God, Sammy, I feel like a new person. And I was like, girl,
Mm.
I know. I even had to do it last night. Asked Taylor. I was getting really antsy and I was like, I need to go take a shower. I don't know what's going on, but I need to take a shower. And as soon as I got in there and I started imagining just any energy coming off of me and just raising up my arms, being like, I'm taking in all this light. I came out and I was like, okay, I'm good. I'm back to normal. But it makes sense because we were at a restaurant before, and I very much so. I worked in the restaurant industry for 8 years, as you know, and I would get headaches at the restaurants. I would feel really low vibe. So that was something that Mark, you helped me out a lot with. In this shower ritual, when you come home, you release all of that energy that you were just dealing with, and you're back to like your own
Yeah,
safe space.
yeah. Wherever alcohol is being consumed, a lot of negative energy is around. I'm not going to bash people who drink. I'm just saying that that's a part of the. If you look up why they call it spirits, and then further than that, they call it alcohol, which was a Greek terminology. People should look that up. That they would see that it's really. That's why when you see people go berserk on airplanes, they've been drinking a lot of times or taking something, and something steps in. So when you have perfectly normal people running down the aisle of an airplane screaming, "I'm the devil!" and freaking out, that's what's happening.
Mm.
And for some reason, and I can't tell you quite why, those discarnate spirits like to be on airplanes. I guess it's a high level of stress there, and they're able, with in coordination with the intoxication, they're able to take control. Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, if you look at on the internet, like some of the strange things that have gone on airplanes with people, they don't seem to be themselves, when they're carrying on like that.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because when I first met my coach, Michaela, in the DR, we actually had a conversation about aliens at one point, and they showed me a video of this woman, and she was on the airplane, and she said that the person next to her, like, instead of their eyes closing, like, open like this, they closed sideways, and she went berserk and was like, he's gonna crash this plane, he's not human, and she ended up getting arrested, and but you know I don't know. Like it's just crazy, you know? So we don't have.
Well, we do share this planet with which I'm not going to get into too much detail, but it's otherworldly beings, that people this is the year, and this in the next year we will reunite with our spiritual brothers and sisters. Well, they've been kept out of the planet by certain mm, uh, governing people in this world, and so hopefully they'll be this planet. This planet has been visited many times. Let's put it that way. They dig stuff up like little gold jets from, like, 10,000 years ago. In the Mayan and ruins, and where do you think that comes from?
Yeah. I mean, there's too many
You know,
like there's too many sightings, there's too many everything. Even when I came home from the DR, I met this woman and she was telling me how her grandma saw a UFO and like the light came down on her and they brought her to the hospital and she didn't remember a thing, but she's never been the same since. And she was like, "You could call me crazy, but like this is my story." And I was like, "Nope, I'm not going to call you crazy because I was just talking about this in my retreat, you know?" So there's way too many coincidences or just stories or sightings or whatever to say that it's not the case, you know?
so I'll give you an analogy. In Africa and in Alaska, they fly over and they see a polar bear and they dart it, and then they take it and they tag it and they check it to see if it's healthy. I think that's what happens when extraterrestrial craft comes. Sometimes, they come. Oh, there's our creation. Dart it, take it up to the aircraft, examine it, put a little something in there. That's why people find um, implants,
Yes.
and and okay, go on about your life. And some people remember it, and some people don't. And I think most of the extraterrestrials are benevolent, which means you know, they care, and they're just checking on us. And there are some others that are not so benevolent,
Mhm.
but I think more or less we're a very violent culture and society and world, and some of the extraterrestrials are like, whoa, they're not quite ready yet
Yeah.
for us. But I think that's going to change in the next couple of years.
Wow. A lot happening.
I know.
Yeah.
This was like the most amazing conversation ever.
Yeah, literally. Thank you so much for coming on.
I know, Mark. This
It's my pleasure. I don't know what your time span is, but
Yeah, we could go on forever. Like,
you
this stuff
already
is so
know.
interesting. Yeah. But I guess, do you want to leave our listeners with any pieces of advice or anything? Maybe if they're curious about,
Where they could find you.
yeah, or like tapping into their own spirituality.
so know that you are spiritual beings, have an experience in body. Know that. Know that you've chosen to be on this planet at this time,
Mhm.
and know that you have spiritual gifts. This is a very heavy, dense, and difficult planet. And every day is an opportunity to start new. Don't beat yourself up over things you've done in the past. Those are just experiences, no matter what those experiences are.
That was beautiful.
Um,
Yeah.
I'm on anybody that wants to get in touch with me or wants the healing or energy reading. I'm Baba Mark 1111 on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
So
And we'll definitely put him in the show notes too, so that you guys can just click and go ahead and find him. Because, I mean, shit, he changed our lives. So we 10 out of 10 recommend.
That's right.
you guys are doing really good. Always without me, I just did a little guiding. That's all, And I
Aww.
was proud to have worked with both of you.
Mark, stop. Well, we're proud to work with you. And I think you already kind of hinted at having that second episode. Don't worry, Mark will 100% be back because we do need to go in deep dive about those karmic relationships and, talk more about this because I think there's so much that our listeners can learn from you. And I mean, I'm just obsessed with talking about all of this. So I'm so excited.
Yeah, maybe I can get to come to the DR. That means Dominican Republic. For those of you that don't speak Sammy, I I'm like, hey, what is this DR thing? Oh, that means the Dominican Republic, Mark. Can't you figure that out?
I love it. It is a language, a Sammy language.
Yeah, I realized
Yeah.
that I don't like fully explain things. It's something I've been learning lately. I'll tell like half of the sentence or half of the story, and I expect you to just fill in the rest. So sorry if you get caught in that. We're working on it.
Well, no, I'm sure cooler people than myself know what the DR means. But I was like, when it was first said, I'm like, you were like, I can't wait to get back to the DR. I'm like, is that some kind of work thing she's doing, or directional rehabilitation? What does that? I was trying to figure out what it meant. Ed Taylor was like, Dominican Republic.
Hey, it's a learning thing, you know? It's a
Yeah.
learning language. So yeah, so you
Well,
can find us I'm at Taylor Babel on Instagram.
And I'm at Sammy Roos _ on Instagram as well.
We're gonna put everything, all the information on the show notes. So yeah,
We love you.
yeah. Thank God
of
for
course, love is most important. We should, like I said, we should all love each other as much as we love our pets. Love transcends everything.
yes.
Well,
Absolutely.
that's your homework, guys. Go love everyone around you as if you would love Miss Nala over here, your own pet that you might have at home. But if you need someone in spirit, Nala's got you.
All right. Peace, love, and joy to you guys, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your visit.
Peace
Thank
out.
you. Bye.
Bye.